you are the important link in making this happen. There's a mayor or some elected leader in your community, township supervisor or county executive, and they're a busy person like you are, but they're busy with a host of issues. And generally, as mayors, we're worried about answering 911 calls and filling potholes. Those are our top priorities. And then there's creating jobs, economic development, etc. And if you talk to a mayor about financial empowerment, he'll start to nod his head because, yes, we're for it. It sounds good. And then we have other pressing priorities. And we might even get excited about it. But then we'll go back to work and the crisis of the moment will take over. And that's why it's very important we have leaders who understand you all. I'm talking about leaders who understand and get down into the weeds and continue to push for it and continue to advocate for real things, for setting it up, for institutionalizing it. That's why it happened in Lansing. I had I call them the three amigos, who were hanging out in my office. And I didn't really know what they were up to. I knew they were up to some financial thing, doing something to try to help people financially, something or other. And I was always running, coming and going, and they were in there. Amy Krause, my city treasurer, and Megan, and Amber. And then sometimes Randy would be with them, my chief of staff. And like I said, I never quite got them. They were applying for a grant, and they were working on this financial thing. And I did give them my office and sometimes threw some food at them. But they were low maintenance at the time, so it seemed okay. But then it grew. So that's how these things can start. So if you have humble beginnings right now, if you're alone, even if you're the only person in your community, you can grow it, and I encourage you to do so. Great things will come. I want to encourage you, stick with it. It's worth it. So I found out what they were doing, and it has paid off. So and I'm very proud to say that we've adopted and embraced this innovative movement that's taking place around the country. That is financial empowerment. Giving our residents the tools they need to make smart financial choices and build a strong financial foundation. And see these words on the paper, I've seen them come to life at financial empowerment fairs and stuff. I don't know what they call them, but I go and I see people literally in tears because they become financially empowered. And so financial empowerment, you need to make sure that comes alive in your community, to the political leaders, that they understand what it means. There's so many ways to look at it. There's economic development impacts, of course. So now we are 2 years later, and I can tell you financial empowerment works. And we're proving it every day in Lansing. It's data-driven, results-oriented, and it is changing lives. City residents have been hard hit by job losses and foreclosures during the Great Recession. I know this is true in your communities. Financial empowerment is a powerful remedy, lifting people up. Since we launched our Financial Empowerment Center 18 months ago, our team has served nearly 1,500 Lansing area residents, delivered more than 3,500 financial counseling sessions, reduced clients' debt by more than $2 million, increased cumulative savings by $125,000. 64 clients have increased their credit score by 35 points or more, or established credit where they had no score before. 169 clients have reduced their total debt by 10% or more. 53 clients have increased their total savings by 2% of their net annual income or more. 99 have opened bank accounts. 35 have put money into savings for 3 consecutive months or more. 59% of clients have attended at least 2 sessions. 33% of clients have attended at least 3 sessions. Median income of our clients is $15,000. So these are real results, improving the lives of real people. We know we're making a difference. Not just another human services program, but an integral part of our economic development strategy, investing in our human capital. Now, I'm a mayor who's big on economic development. I call myself a pro-business mayor, and the business community agrees because they endorse me for re-election, which isn't for a while. I mean, they did in the last election. But you need to find partnerships That's one of the most important things, partners. And you should find them not just in government and private sector, but in the foundation community, in the faith community, but in the business community. Because you're putting dollars and cents into the economy. When you put dollars and cents into the pockets of people, and of course cents goes two ways, but you really are building community capacity and contributing to the economy. Jonathan Mintz, who heads up the CFE fund, says, quote, local governments and leaders are uniquely positioned to bring members of underserved communities into the financial mainstream, unquote. He's absolutely right. We are on the front lines of serving our citizens. While Congress and the state legislature flounder and cast about, mired in partisan nonsense, mayors and their local partners are getting things done across the country. Thank you. But we can't do it alone. Practically everything we do is driven by the power of partnerships. And that's true in financial empowerment. It starts with a great team, which I'm fortunate to say, as I told you, I'm surrounded with the best and the brightest. Our financial empowerment team members are true rock stars. Amber Paxton, the director of our Office of Financial Empowerment, tireless, driven, innovative, just the kind of person that you would want leading an effort like this. Velma Kaiser, Velma, our rock star program manager who leads a crack team of financial counselors who are improving lives and making a difference every single day. Thanks to each of you. That Lansing is the little engine that could. So if you have questions, these are the experts. Thanks also to the CFE Fund and Bloomberg Philanthropies. Without Mike Bloomberg's commitment to financial empowerment, we wouldn't be here today. I consider myself lucky to be able to have thanked Mayor Bloomberg personally. Welcome and thanks to Emig and Justin Scott from the CFE Fund for being with us today. Thank you for believing in Lansing. Thanks also to Ann and Justin, Jonathan Mintz, Jose Cisneros, and Richard Keith for inviting Lansing to join the National Cities for Financial Empowerment Coalition. We're the smallest city to earn this honor, but we hope to continue to prove that great things, big things can happen in small cities. And thanks to the Mott Foundation for supporting our program, and to Program Officer Benita Melton in particular, who was instrumental in helping us craft a successful grant. Community Economic Development Association of Michigan and their superstar, Megan Kursick, who is working to replicate our success across the state of Michigan with support from Mott. Community Services and Director Ivan Love are primary partners in financial empowerment here in Lansing, and all of our community partners and sponsors. So what's next? Continuing the work of replicating this game-changing program across Michigan and across the nation, convincing our state legislature that financial empowerment works and that they should make it a key strategy in reducing dependence on public assistance by giving our citizens the tools and knowledge they need to lift themselves up. This is something both Democrats and Republicans should be able to agree on. Let's see the state put real money into this effort. We have the data to prove that it works. Empowering our citizens to take control of their finances has the potential to be more impactful than any tax cut or credit, any human services program. Not that those are not needed as well. So let us all be powerful and shameless advocates for financial empowerment. And thank you to my team for making me a believer, advocate. Like I said, I wasn't sure what you were up to all that time, but it has been phenomenal. And I just tell you, what you get at the end of this, I attended a program a couple months ago where I went around the room and played Bob Barker a little bit, or Monty Hall, and talked to, I'm dating myself, I know, for you guys. Phil Donahue. And I got to interview a lot of these folks, and you can see that often the tears didn't flow because there is such a weight, and we all, unless you were born with a silver spoon, which I doubt any of us here, we all have known the strain of financial difficulties and how it weighs on you, and it affects you, your mental health, your family. And when you begin to lift that weight and show people the light at the end of the tunnel, that's what these people are doing. That's truly giving people hope, and it's not false hope. It is real, and it's throwing them a lifeline when they feel they are absolutely buried. So this is vital, important work, and God bless you for doing it. Good luck.
Hi everyone. Again, for those of you who are in this morning, my name is Emig. I'm the program manager of the Financial Empowerment Center Replication Initiative for the Cities for Financial Empowerment Fund. So when the COP Fund received this grant, I received the funding from Bloomer Philanthropies to replicate New York City's Financial Empowerment Center program. I was brought in to sort of pull all the knowledge that was developed in New York City and help bring it to the other cities that are implementing this program so that they can implement the program in the way that keeps all of the best practices that make it work, but then also help them customize the program so that it makes sense for both their local population based on what the population's needs are, as well as how the governments function in each city, who the partners are, what the geographic and kind of physical barriers are, and all of those things, and just kind of really help them in their implementation process. So I thought it might be helpful today if I just talk a little bit about how the program came to be and sort of why we believe the very specific elements of the program are the way they are. So the Financial Empowerment Center program actually came out of an anti-poverty study that was commissioned by the Virg administration in 2007. So it was sort of your typical blue ribbon panel on poverty where they went around to all the different agency heads and asked what's working for your agency, what isn't, what are your clients' needs, what are you really seeing in the field. And then they also looked out across the country, across the US and probably beyond, to see what are some of the new best practices in the field that are working. And the woman at the time who was the head of the Department of Health and Human Services noticed that there was almost like this footnote at the end that said, these are all the best practices, and by the way, everything needs more financial empowerment or more financial education. And so they sort of, that struck them that financial issues were a barrier to success across all their departments, and they said, well, what would it really look like if a city were to get into this work? Because this is, this isn't city work, this is nonprofit work. So they then went out and looked at both the supply side of the equation, who are the people in the field doing this work, this financial education, what does financial education mean? And then they also talked to actual clients to say, what do you need? So with the nonprofit sector, what they found out there that there were a lot of really great actors, and there were some okay actors, and then also some really bad actors. And so it ranged everything from a well-meaning volunteer in a church basement to a predatory debt consolidator who's going to take $2,000 from you and say they're going to consolidate your debt and help you pay it off and really just rip you off. And even with the really great, well-meaning nonprofits, a lot of times they lacked any sort of standardization in training. So when you said you were meeting with a financial counselor, no one really knew what that meant. And they didn't know what the training the person had got. So there was no sort of standardization in the professional level of service that you're getting. And another thing they found was that there was no accountability. So at most, people could sort of say, we had a workshop, we had 10 workshops last year and we saw 100 people. But did that have an impact on their life? No one could really say what it meant or like what the outcomes were of that. So those are sort of the founding elements that this program was built upon. And one other thing about when they actually went and talked to clients, they found clients said, a workshop is great, a website's okay, but when I'm in trouble, I need help. I need someone to sit down with me and help me work through these really complex problems and connect me to resources that I don't know about. So there was sort of this fork in the road where they said, when people are in this type of situation, there's education and then there's service. And we think we need people need service. So that is sort of what this program grew out of. And so the city recognized there are really great people in the field already doing this work. Let's put out a city RFP to do a pilot and find the best people doing this work, and we're going to ask them to all have the same training. So there was a course that was developed by a community college in personal and consumer finance that they put all of these people through so that they knew everyone had the same base amount of training and that it wasn't so varied anymore. In addition, the program went through a series of sort of iterations where they talked about what are the milestones and outcomes that we're really concerned about. So that is sort of how we arrive at our very specific data tracking and milestones and outcomes that we track. So they started this pilot, and it was with one nonprofit provider in the Bronx, and it really was taking off. They were having early success, but it was small at scale, and then the recession hit. And they had had such great success that in this time of very scarce resources, instead of saying, you know what, this program was new on the list, it has to go, Mayor Bloomberg actually said, more than ever, we need this program everywhere. So it was actually during the recession, in a time of a major budget deficit, that he actually took that program to scale. Because at that time, with the early success, they found that agency heads were actually coming to the Financial Empowerment Center and saying, we need a counselor. We need a counselor at NYCHA, which is our housing authority. We need a counselor at DHS, which is the Department of Human Services. We need a counselor at Legal Services. So it went from this sort of push thing where they were kind of going around and begging, saying, will you partner with us? Will you partner with us? It became sort of a pull system where all the different department heads were coming to the Financial Empowerment Center sort of begging for a counselor. And so it was upon that recognition that Mayor Bloomberg really took the program to scale and sort of ramped up. So that was in, I believe, 2008, 2009. I'm looking at Justin to make sure that my dates are right. But and then since then, the Financial Empowerment Center program has grown in New York City to, I believe, 30 different counselors. Is that right? 30 different centers?
Centers, yeah.
30 centers. And then there was a recognition that this work needed to be replicated around the country. People were starting to call different cities. Were calling the Office of Financial Empowerment in New York City saying, can you help us? Can you help us start a Financial Empowerment Center? So that was when Bloomberg Philanthropies made an investment in the Cities for Financial Empowerment Fund to replicate this program in the cities across the country. So I hope that is sort of a helpful kind of background about why we think the city is such a crucial element in this. And just one additional sort of point that I want to make about why cities. So not only did Mayor Bloomberg recognize that this is important for our clients, but this is just good business. If I'm able to help reduce the amount of times someone is put through a workforce development program because, you know what, their credit score is so low that they're not getting a job because of that, and I can refer them to a Financial Empowerment Center to remove that barrier to their success. My programs are going to be more successful, and those dollars are going to go farther. And so I think this afternoon when we talk about partnerships, we're going to dive into that a little bit more deeply. And Lansing has a number of awesome, just really, really awesome examples about ways that they've helped their partners actually be more successful. It just, from a city perspective, not only are they able to bring that level of accountability and professionalization, but they know that it just makes sense to make all of their programs reach better and faster outcomes. So I guess just one other thing I would say is Lansing has been such an awesome leader in this field. They're very, very competitive. The city's very competitive. They always call me and say, "Are we winning?" I'm happy to report that you are winning. So it's just been a pleasure to work with them, and they've been a leader in this field, and Lansing is now one of 13 cities around the U.S. that is doing this work.